Ronnie Kray was buried 5 years ago. The East End turned out in huge numbers to honour its most notorious son. In his day, the most feared criminal in the underworld, and Britain's most famous gangster. Using exclusive new information and eyewitness accounts, we can now reveal the underworld alliance that sustained the Kray firm's reign of terror. Reggie Kray, the surviving twin, was released for the day to attend the funeral. Tonight, he is 31 years, 6 months, 3 weeks and 2 days into a life sentence for murder. Among the mourners is bank robber Freddie Foreman. His partnership with the Kray firm goes back 40 years and threatened to defeat the detective who jailed the Krays.
Freddie Foreman was far more involved with the Krays than I believed at the very beginning. He was a serious member of the family. I didn't realise that at the very beginning. I thought the Krays were constrained to using their own people. But Foreman was somebody that they could call upon at any time when they wanted some serious business to be perpetrated. Foreman was an evil man. He was a hitman that was open to offers. And so I think that, bearing in mind his track record, 30 years imprisonment would have been justified.
Foreman was one of the pallbearers. He'd just completed a prison sentence for handling money from the biggest cash robbery in British history. Tonight, he talks frankly about his career in crime and life inside the firm. Freddie Foreman had a lifelong association with the Krays and became one of the most feared and ruthless criminals of his generation. But he started out as an ordinary thief.
After the austerity of the war years, you just sort of drifted into stealing because there were things you couldn't afford and you couldn't obtain unless you went and stole these things, and there was a ready market for it. And nobody refused anything on the cheap.
What do you want if you don't want money? What do you want if you don't want gold? Say what you want and I'll give it you, darling. Wish you wanted my love, baby. What do you want if you don't?
Then the electrical goods came on the market with the washing machines and the televisions and stuff like that, radiograms. Everybody wanted one of those. Of course, we could get them and sell them at a third of the price. They jumped them. That's when I came into contact with Charlie Kray. He was a good fence. He did well. Charlie used to buy a lot of stuff in East London from, and we struck up a friendship. They used to come over with their van and I had a lock up at Pernhill. We used to come and load up there, take all we get back to the East End. And then, of course, his brothers, the twins, was younger than him, and they were just coming up and always into some sort of trouble or one thing or another and building up a reputation.
An East End bank robber became the Krays' trusted first lieutenant. Albert Donahue was the go-between in the secret alliances that held the Kray empire together, an empire founded on violence, as he discovered.
I was working with a little crowd in the East End who were doing security vans and things like that. One of the guys was collected and tied to a chair, and Ronnie Kray put a poke around his face and burnt him. He was saying who did that, you know, but he wouldn't tell us. So I said, if someone done that to me, I'd be out. I'd blow his bloody head off, you know. Anyway, I went to the Twins pub in Bethnal Green. And I was drinking for a little while. What I didn't know is they'd sent off for a gun. Reggie shot me in the foot. So I went to the hospital. Then I hear the firm's looking for me. So I went round there, went round to their house. The three Krays were there, Charlie, Reggie and Ronnie. And then Ronnie said, well, why don't you stop all that robbery business and come and get your money with us? On the firm, put me on a pension. If you took the punishment, he was considered a good guy. You know.
South London was Freddie Foreman's patch, but he had to leave it behind when his fingerprints were found on a lorry used to steal a consignment of radiograms.
The only thing to do was go on my toes, go over to the East End of London. It was like crossing that little bit of water was a different world, you know, it was a different area. It was, the police wouldn't know you or recognise you in the street. In South London I was known very well. So to go over there, you felt safe. And the twins and Charlie, they fixed me up with a flat right opposite the Blind Beggar's pub. I lived there. I was indebted to the twins in a way for looking after me, and which they did. They took care of me. And of course they was also propping bits of business to me at the same time.
Under the wing of the Krays, Foreman took the next step up the criminal ladder. Life on the run put him in the midst of other ruthless and committed villains, men from the shebeens and dice games of the East End that Foreman forged into a gang, a heavy mob that set its sights on cash targets. Their activities made the front pages, including this spectacular failure. In December 1961, Foreman's gang attacked a bank van carrying wages worth today over £1 million. PC Ted Buckle and his dog Flash were in the van.
We were hit on three sides as I came off my seat. I saw somebody jumping out of the lorry in front on the near side with a crash helmet on and goggles. And then I saw other people coming out with pickaxe handles, also with helmets on.
And we had a couple of big vans and a lorry that reversed back into the front of the van. We had to come along the side of it in another van, which tore down the side of it. It smashed the side windows. Because there was like half a dozen guys in the back, and caused a bit of confusion.
There were two on our side at that moment smashing in the windows. Obviously their intention was to keep us inside that vehicle. I said, I'm going out with my dog. As I opened up the door and started getting out, my dog automatically leapt at the first person who was at that moment bringing the pickaxe handle down to hit the vehicle again, changed direction and hit the dog straight on the head. And I instantly went for one of these fellas with the pickaxe handle, spun him round, put my arm round his neck and held him in a neck lock.
But out jumped the police officer and his dog, a big city copper, and that was okay, but the copper was fighting with one of the other firm, and the dog was biting lumps out of his arse, you know, while we got the chain in the back and ripped the two back doors off. And the doors came off like a bit of butter and fell in the middle of the road. But then when we tried to get in the back of the van to get the money, which was laying there in the big leather cricket bags all lined up with the ready cash on wage packets. But two guards were standing there in a firing position with these two guns, two Berettas. It would turn the tables then. If you want a bullet in the head, you know, and then he climbed up in the back of the van because the bullets were flying all around the street. It wasn't the robbers using the guns, it was the guards protecting the money. And there's one of our firm crawling around on his hands and knees, and he's been shot right through the head, in one side and out the other it's gone.
I saw these men running towards the getaway van. The back door was open and all jumping in. And then one of them shouted something, and they all came back out of that vehicle with their pickaxe handles. At that moment, I knew that I had a serious problem, that they intended to get at me, to get their other person away. I knew my life was at stake. They meant it to take me out. They started raining blows on me and I had to let him go. And once I let go, they just turned and ran. So I still have scars on my head. I'm left-handed, and I couldn't use my left arm at all, and I thought it was just broken. But in fact, of course, they'd numbed it completely.
The failed raid left the police with plenty of